Muscular dystrophy refers to a group of disorders that involve a progressive loss of muscle mass and consequent loss of strength. The main forms may affect up to 1 in every 5,000 males. The most common form of Duchenne muscular dystrophy typically affects young boys, but other variations can strike in adulthood. The disease is caused by genetic mutations that interfere with the production of muscle proteins that are needed to build and maintain healthy muscles. The causes are genetic, and a family history of muscular dystrophy will increase the chances of it affecting an individual. Adedotun Tejuoso is the CEO of Dotun Tejuoso Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, fighting to create awareness and keep hope alive for victims.
Tonight on Moments, we shed more light on muscular dystrophy and how it can be managed. Hello ladies, how are you today?
We're great. How are you, Vimbai?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a bit more of a serious subject matter today, and I'm excited about that. I know as women we're more exposed to osteoporosis, and there's a lot more conversation around that, but what are you looking forward to learning today?
Personally, I mean, I know people who've been affected by muscular dystrophy, but what I'm so interested in getting into is the treatment options, and I know there's no real cure for it, but how it can best be managed so anyone suffering from it has a very long and fulfilling life.
I think for me it would be interesting to find out how our guests who are living with this disease are managing in Nigeria, because so many times I've observed that a lot of buildings, a lot of spaces in Nigeria, they're not very friendly to people who have a disability, and I always wonder how people manage. So I would like to see how they're managing and what kind of options, or how are they advocating for making sure that there are laws put into place to make sure that when you go to a mall, for example, there's a ramp. These kind of things that we don't really think about for us who are, physically able. So it'll be interesting to find out how they're living with the disease.
Certainly intriguing, and I know that knowledge is the beginning of us finding solutions and seeking an easier way for those suffering with this disease to live an easier life. Now, our guest tonight is the founder of a Muscular Dystrophy Foundation who was diagnosed with Becker muscular dystrophy, and that's a less severe variant of Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and he was diagnosed in 2007. So you get to meet him in a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Moments Nigeria. Today on the show we're talking about muscular dystrophy, and our guest is Adedotun Tejuoso. He's the coordinator and the founder of the Dotun Tejuoso Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. He has a BSc in sociology from Bowen University and an MSc in global management from the University of Central Lancaster, Preston, London. He's also a political analyst. Thank you so much for coming on this show, Dotun.
Welcome.
It's very nice to have you. So I want to find out, from you about your story. You have a foundation now that's helping people who are living with muscular dystrophy, but how did you even first know to become diagnosed? What was happening in your life? What kind of symptoms were you seeing?
Like basically, first start with the walk-ins, you're wobbling, and your muscle mass start dropping, because muscular dystrophy is just basically malnourished muscles that are not functioning well, and leads to deterioration and progress and muscular loss of the body. So,
and when you first started noticing these symptoms, how old were you?
I was about my first year in uni.
Okay, so about 18-ish?
Yeah, thereabout.
Okay, and what treatment options were offered to you?
At first, I got diagnosed in UCH, UCH in Ibadan. At first, and most hospitals in Nigeria don't know about it yet. They don't have a general term of muscular dystrophy. So what I have is Becker muscular dystrophy, because it's a milder one from the Duchenne one. So they just did a blanket, oh, you have muscular dystrophy, and I just living with it. But because it's the milder one, I'm still walking around, I'm still in school. And so when I went to do my master's, I went to the proper testing, because in Nigeria we don't have labs that checks for the muscles, and this muscular dystrophy, for you to be able to work on it and the effects, and you have to have early diagnosis so that you can work towards slowing down, because there's no treatment for now. But so it's just through therapies and just early diagnosis, that's the key, so that you can manage
the symptoms, really.
I understand it's something that you're born with, but is it possible to diagnose it at birth?
Yeah.
Or it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be diagnosed. It depends, yes, at birth. if, like most hospitals outside the country, when you get to your child, you do all the tests. But here, we don't have that luxury of doing all the tests.
Okay.
So it goes along the line. And the problem with muscular dystrophy in Nigeria is because the field is not, how do I put it now? It's not common.
It's not common.
And they don't even know about it. Like, you know, have wrong diagnosis. Some people think it's stroke. Some people go out of like culture, like your village people.
Of course,
Like they're talking, and the isolation is because the families are scared. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know what's up. They think, oh, it's just basically some uncle, some spiritual
because we don't understand. We don't have the information.
So I know a lot of families that have gone through spiritual, like, go through it, but it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's why why I started the foundation was because I noticed, like, most people don't know what it is.
So is it a genetic?
Yeah,
It's passed on genetically.
Yeah.
So in your family, you're the only person with the muscular dystrophy?
For now, yeah.
For now, okay.
When you found out, were you able to go back into your genealogy? Was your family forthcoming in you know, making an inquiry as to say, has anybody, maybe my great-great-uncle, has anybody suffered from this? Were they forthcoming with information?
They tried, but we don't have anybody yet. So, like, there was background checks, tried to ask, if there was anything relating to muscles and.
But your family were open to sharing the information.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you said you were 18 or you were in your first year in university when you first found out. What was that experience like for you? Because it's the kind of thing where your life
growing up,
changes.
like growing up, because it's bigger. Growing up, I just knew I could not run, but it was not obvious before I got to 18. I could not run. I could not do some little things, like I could still drive. I could still do things. So it just felt like. At first, I think it was bones. That's what wrong diagnosis. We were doing a calcium. I took a billion calcium, like, oh no, it was not bones. So it was when I got to my first year, my mom was just worried, like, because even some of my mates, when they see me now, and they see me there, I was like, what happened? Like, because it's slow. So my mom was just worried, like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? And okay, we just went to UCH. UCH just did the normal blanket, oh, you have muscular dystrophy, and that was it. So when I went to do my master's, I did more research on Baker muscular dystrophy, and so those two therapy, watch, like, make sure you don't add too much weight, so like for the muscles, and just keep on working on the muscles as long as you can.
You're watching Moments Nigeria. Joining us now is Miss Adeniyi Oyindamola. She's a graduate of the University of Lagos, and she lost her sister, sadly, to muscular dystrophy, and her two brothers are also victims of the Duchenne muscular dystrophy. She'll be sharing her experience as a relative and constant support to her brothers. Welcome to Moments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
So talk to us about, growing up with siblings affected by muscular dystrophy. What was the experience like for them, going to school, just trying to do things that you would take for granted? How were they able to cope?
Well, I think they've been more difficult than the disease. So normally when they wake up, we try to do all the other things for them, and then there's someone who comes in to convey them to school. But then when they finished secondary school, they could not further their education because it was just too challenging. And so we just had to stop and look for ways to empower them.
What are they doing for a living?
My brother, my elder brother, actually, he works on phones. He repairs phones.
Okay.
So people from the neighborhood comes in with their faulty phones and he repairs them. And my other brother, which is my younger brother, he's a DJ now. So he attends parties to DJ for them, yes.
In terms of, life though, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to have 3 siblings, because you did say you lost your sister to muscular dystrophy. How did that affect the family dynamics, with your mom and your parents? What was that experience like for you?
Well, I must be sincere, it was really terrible because my sister, I did not really live with her. When she started showing symptoms of muscular dystrophy, they did not know what it was. So she was taken from one hospital to the other, from one spiritual home to the other, and they ended up spending a lot of money, and there was no change. There was no change at all. And then When my mom, because my dad married 2 wives, he was always with the other one. So my mom was the one responsible for everything. And due to that, due to the stress, due to the thinking, you know, there's nobody that would have a child like that and then just look at it due to the thing. And she was working as a teacher. She just retired last year. But then as time went on, she had hypertension, then diabetes, and now she's down with stroke. Wow. And I knew it was due to the stress that came with the managing muscular dystrophy.
You know, as caretakers, I find that we often we want to do a lot. We want to do everything, almost. And however, those suffering from the disease or from the disability often want their independence. How have you been able to just find the balance between, you know, letting your brothers be and grow and learn how to manage and wanting to take care of their every need?
It's really challenging at times because you just don't want to leave them. They always need your help, so you just have to always be there for them. So sometimes I try to talk to people in the neighborhood to also assist them, because one thing we did not get was physical assistance. Sometimes we actually had financial assistance, but the physical assistance, and the physical assistance, like the 70% of it actually. So sometimes as a student I do go to school, but most times I'll just be called to come home to assist, and it has really been challenging. But then, you know, you have your own life to live as well, even though you have to manage them. So I do not really have a social life because I have to take care of them. And ever since then, though, now as a graduate, I know I would soon be leaving them. But then I sat down and think, okay, what should we do? We can't just sit down and look at them this way. So in 2016, when my mother suffered the stroke, I sat down and think that, no, this disease isn't going to take my brothers and my mother along.
I love your spirit.
So then that same year, I started raising awareness for muscular dystrophy. So I started raising awareness and then telling people, hosting events, and since then, I discovered that we were not the only one.
Welcome back to Moments Nigeria. Today we are talking all about understanding muscular dystrophy, and we're joined by our third guest, Dr. Oki. He's a surgeon and he's also the chairman of the Lagos State Disability Affairs. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Oki, we want to talk to you about, you know, the treatment options for muscular dystrophy. As you know, Dr. was telling us that here in Nigeria, it's not really something that's, you know, well understood, and it's just kind of given a blanket feel, you know, when people come and say they think they may be suffering from it. So what treatment options are available in terms of improving, you know, quality of life and being more comfortable and living with it?
When you talk about muscular dystrophy, so far, there's no treatment for it. Certain palliative methods have been used just to alleviate the condition. Steroids are often used to delay the process of degeneration, but you see, it has a side effect. There are also drugs, like some narcotics might give the patient some kind of false sense of well-being, and perhaps increases the energy, you know, for a period of time. But some of these drugs, as we talk about right now, are not without their side effects.
Definitely.
Another thing that is important is exercise.
Of course,
You know, the aerobic type of exercise, not the anaerobic type, not the weightlifting thing. Because the more you exercise, the less the muscle, you know, dies. Like if you leave the muscle, even with you, any other person that is otherwise normal should leave his muscle for some time, it undergoes what they call atrophy.
yeah.
And that atrophy would lead to wasting. And with time, that muscle part could be useless.
Okay.
Exactly what happens to somebody with muscular dystrophy.
I want to talk a little bit about, the assistance the government is providing, because Dr. Oki, you're the chairman of the Lagos Disability Affairs. And what has your experience been like with Lagos State in terms of making sure that buildings are making sure that they're keeping to codes for people who have a disability so they can gain access, and also in terms of people actually having, even if it's not a treatment that's going to cure it, but maybe I want to go for physical therapy, what kind of assistance is the government actually providing for people?
The Lagos State government is awesome in the plight of persons living with disability in general. You can see the overhead bridges and the these things now all over.
One side
they are wheelchair friendly.
Yes.
The potholes are being blocked here and that because of the people with visual impairments. Recently, at least 100,000 was given to registered people living with disability. Once they are registered in Lagos State, with LASODA, they were given 100,000 each by the Lagos State government, only to assist them in their business, maybe petty trading and some other area of challenges that they may have.
Dr. Oki, you make a great point, but I want to come back to Dotun and ask about your foundation. And in terms of, you're talking about people being given money for their businesses, but Dotun, with your foundation, how do you help people to make an income who are suffering from muscular dystrophy, maybe who can't work conventional 9-to-5 kind of office type jobs?
Basically, because of the deterioration of muscles, so not like each person is unique. Your deterioration could be different from the others. So it depends on how you can see we are able to use your hands to do stuff. So like we do like some sort of trainings, like maybe tailoring if you can sew, for how long you can take. But it's difficult because it depends. It varies from
on the severity of the muscular dystrophy.
But basically, if you will see that you are still able to use your muscles well, we encourage anything you think you want to learn, like making of shoes and all, like that's basically what we do. But my foundation is just not to help people, not only to help, but we're trying to get a bill like government to put us in the constitution and we'll try and make position. The only precedent that's tried was General Babangida. He did a degree that they should try and pay disability. But when we came back in '99, it was like all the military was, I think they changed it or whatever it is. And I told, like I was saying before, like each Senate for the past 1990s today, I've been trying. I don't even know. You just get to the president's text and that's it.
All right, well, Adedotun and Dr. Oki, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your work and your effort, and I do hope that by means of this platform, we're able to raise the awareness, and we're now more educated, and that should take us forward in finding more assistance and solutions. So thank you for your time. So what did you guys take away from the show, in a nutshell?
I mean, in a nutshell, it was extremely heart-wrenching. I know at points, at times, you all kind of were just completely silent. You could hear like a pin drop in the studio, everybody was taking it in, Adeniyi just really, she's just such a courageous young woman. I was really almost moved to tears by her bravery and her compassion, for her brothers and her mother.
I completely agree with you, Tallulah. For me, I just think, I really just sometimes hope that we can do better as a society. Like, when you think about it, Dotun's talking about how they've been trying to pass a bill, since 1999, and it just seems as if no one is really interested. And the question is, when you realize that he said there are almost 20 million Nigerians who are living with disabilities. So the question is, are we saying that they don't have a right to a quality life? That's what I got from it. It is what we're saying. Because if someone cannot go to the mall because there's no ramp, that means that you don't want them to experience the same things that you are experiencing as an able-bodied person. So we just need to do better as a society.
Yeah. But not taking away from, you know, the work that they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Advocating for
Dr.
themselves.
Oki, Dotun's foundation, and people like Adeniyi as well, who may not have big, huge foundations, but just at the micro level in their homes, they're making a difference.
She is.
So a lot to take away from that, and we sure do hope you enjoyed tonight's show and that you learned something and that you will make your own contribution. That's it from us tonight on Moments Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, if you can think it, you can do it.